ending the weekend on a high note. Join us at Wind River Resort and Casino and indulge in our Sunday brunch. 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. We're serving up all the favorites from savory classics to sweet treats. Mimosas included. Get this, all you can eat brunch for $45 with a River Club card or $55 without. Gather your friends and family for the perfect relaxing Sunday morning or afternoon. For full menu or complete details, visit windriver.com or call 1-800-280-YOU-WIN. Your adventure begins here at Wind River Resort and Casino.
It's finally Friday, and got a quick reminder for you because tomorrow is the Shred Fraud event. We've been telling you about it for the past couple of weeks, and it is right around the corner, folks. From Saturday, tomorrow, July 18th, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at 1647 Hartnell Avenue, Redding, California. You can bring all of your open documents, open mail, Medicare statements, sensitive documents, old bills. It's a free drive-through event. So you go in. You bring in your banker's box full of all of that opened mail, and they will shred it right there on site for you. It's a free drive-through event. Senior Medicare Patrol, High Cap, PSA 2, all joining together to help you fight fraud. So be sure to check that on out for tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Temperatures right now on the mild side, coolish in some spots, 64 degrees for Redding, 66 in Chico, 40s and 50s for the higher elevations, and mid-50s right now for you along the coast. If you look closely from our Redding Divine Sky Cam here, you see a little bit of that haze off in the distance. It looks like Mount Shasta, having a hard time kind of seeing it through that haze. That is also a bit of that smoke that's been working its way south from the East Evans Creek fire in southern Oregon. You can see it here in the Lake Shastina Golf Resort Skycam. There may even be the faint smell of smoke up in the area of parts of Siskiyou County. Of course, it's worked its way down into parts of Modoc County as well. You're seeing that haze and smoke. That is expected to work its way northward, especially as we do go into the afternoon hours. Taking a look at our Jones Valley Resort Skycam here, looking out at Shasta Lake, sponsored by Elwood Ranch. Beautiful sunrise shot there, and looks like just kind of a nice calm start to the day out on the lake. Visibility actually not bad, but there is what we call a stratus deck or a marine layer that's still kind of hovering around the area of Crescent City Harbor District, but you can see some breaks in a little bit of blue sky through some of those clouds, so we're beginning to kind of see that clear out in some areas. Here's a look at your Krueger's Quick Cast for your Friday, July 17th. Your Skeeter meter is at a 2 on a scale of 0 to 5, and the Shasta Mosquito and Vector Control has all kinds of great advice for you. And by the way, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns about mosquitoes in your area, you can call the number on your screen. So this morning, there is that marine layer along the coast, but I do expect to see some clearing in some areas here for the coast, mainly sunny skies elsewhere, minus some of the smoke that we are seeing even in Siskiyou and Modoc counties. But that should start to, as I mentioned, migrate northward through the morning and especially this afternoon. Now, there is some monsoonal moisture over the desert southwest, and what you can't see, and we'll talk about in the deeper dive here in a bit, is the tropical moisture that could impact us for next week. But before that, let's talk about today. There's some of the clearing we will see on the coast, but later this evening into tonight, that marine layer will return. By the way, of course, if you're heading out to the pool, you need to make sure that you stay safe. And Mindy Odell from Redding ISR has a lot of great tips and will be giving us a tip each week. Now, this week, I told you about it on Monday. Here is another friendly reminder of what you can do to help keep your kids safe. And the question this week is, when should your child begin swim lessons? As far as Mindy Odell is concerned, the sooner the safer. Your child can start as early as 6 months. And for more on that, we go to Mindy Odell.
Children to have these skills before they need them. You see, most childhood drownings happen during that unexpected moment. It's not always during planned swim times. Teaching children age-appropriate water survival skills can provide that extra layer of defense in that unexpected moment that they find themselves in the water alone. Now, swim skills do not replace proper supervision, but it can give them another chance when seconds count. I'm Mindy Odell with Redding ISR, and I specialize in teaching children ages 6 months and older these survival swim skills. If you are interested in getting your child these life-saving skills, head on over to my website, reddingisr.com, and sign up there. And remember, drowning is preventable and every child deserves to feel safe in and around the water.
Be sure to do that as soon as you can, because head on over to readingisr.com, because Mindy will be able to really make sure that your child at a very young age, as early as 6 months, will have the tools to prevent themselves from drowning. And it's really amazing to see what she does with those kids. And if your child is 3 years old, don't worry. She'll start with them at that age as well. But the sooner, the safer, as she says. So go to readingisr.com to find out more about how you can get your child the lessons they need from Reading ISR. Here are your temperatures for today: upper 90s, mid to upper 90s in the valley, 80s and 90s for the higher elevations. And for tonight, it's cooling off, right? We're at least getting that little bit of relief overnight, especially in the mountains where we got 40s and 50s, low 50s for the coast. The average high for this time of the year, upper 90s to about 100 degrees. That's about where we're going to be in the valley. The farther south you go, not quite as hot, but still, again, right around normal for this time of the year. Low 60s for the coast, 90s for the inland areas, as well as Trinity County. For now, I've got you dry. Now, the chances for thunderstorms in the mountains, that's getting a little tricky as far as the timing, where exactly it'll be, and just how much moisture moves into the area. So for now, I've got it around Tuesday. And I'm just putting it on the map here on the 7-day forecast. So it just kind of makes you aware and alert that that's that possibility. This is one of those forecasts, especially as you go into the deeper dive, that you'll discover that you're going to really need to keep a close eye on the forecast if you have outdoor plans, because the mountains are going to be looking at the potential for thunderstorms, including even Trinity County, for example. Let's take a look at that fire weather outlook. Some of the latest fires we do have out there. The good news is we don't have anything major happening over our area. It's southern Oregon where you got the major fire of the East Evans Creek fire, right? And that's producing some of the smoke that we're seeing this morning up to the north. But the 3-1 pit fire, which was actually discovered on the 7th of this month, last updated this morning, 95% containment. Boy, we're getting close on that one. The Loomis fire, not a lot of activity coming out of this one either, at about 50% containment. And we've got the new 3-6 fire, but this is, last I checked, let's see here. There is no word on containment, but latest coming in from Watch Studio says a hose lay is complete around the fire per incident command. So that's good. That is good. When they got a hose lay around it, that means that they're kind of around the entire perimeter of the fire, and things are looking a little bit more promising for that one. But that all being said, there is an evacuation warning for that fire for LAS, Lassen County, LAS-147. What evacuation warning means? Be ready to go at a moment's notice. And again, we're getting good news that they have the hose lay around the fire, but we still can't let your guard down if you're in that area. The Twain fire is at 85% containment at 276 acres. And of course, the biggest fire in our area is the Elephant fire at 13,476 acres at 77% containment. And there you can see how the perimeter of that. Now, really, again, the only evacuation warning that we do have in the area is coming in from the 3-1 fire. All right, let's take a look at the smoke, because again, I was talking about the East Evans Creek fire in southern Oregon. It has been producing some smoke and haze in the area, but going through the morning and in particular this afternoon, that will work its way back northward, but it does look like we will see what the trend has been as we go into the overnight and early morning hours. Those winds shift more from the north, and we start to see that smoke work its way into places like Siskiyou and Modoc County. There is a red flag warning today because of the dry and gusty conditions at times, and that's going to really elevate that fire weather risk, unfortunately. That's what it looks like today, and unfortunately, we also have a elevated fire weather risk for tomorrow. So looking at the winds, and again, I always like to start with looking at the winds by saying no major wind events. And what I mean by that is when we start seeing gusts over 30, 40 miles per hour, that's when you've got to be concerned. And we've got to be concerned always, right? We can't let our guard. This is the time of the year where each and every single day, we cannot let our guard down no matter what the conditions are, because you can see here, yes, still a little breezy, but again, we're not looking at excessive winds. However, on Monday, you'll notice it is getting a little concerning here in the eastern mountains. We're starting to see over some of the mountain ridge tops, some of that orange color. That's getting in the 30 to 40 mile an hour range, and that is certainly going to be a concern. Fire weather risk and humidity. Humidity is the numbers on your screen. So for example, 4% relative humidity in Redding later this afternoon. Winds, a little breezy. It's going to be hot. We've got elevated fire weather risk. Where you see yellows and oranges, that's typical. That's normal for this time of the year. Nothing unusual. Nothing to be terribly concerned about, but again, we've just got to do everything we can at this point to prevent any new fire starts from starting, because if a fire does start during a period where those winds are starting to gust, well, then it can spread fairly rapidly and it's harder for the firefighters to get a handle on those new fires. I just gave you the latest updates, right? Acreage, containment, all of that, even the evacuation warning that we do have for Lasson 1-142, right? That may change shortly after I mention this, right? So it's a moving target when it comes to the fires. So it's important for you to stay updated, especially if you're being impacted by any of these fires. And the easiest way to do that, go to weathernorcal.com, click on the fire danger section, and that will have all the information that you need. A one-stop shop from the watches and evacuation orders to acreage. Watch duty is there. I've got the watch duty link there as well. Looks like I'm kind of cutting out, by the way. I apologize for that. I'm not sure what's happening. I'll have to kind of look into that. It seems like that's been a trend here lately, unfortunately. I apologize for that. Anyway, that all being said, let's take a look at some of the cameras out there this morning. There you can see Redding Divine Sky Cam. Again, off in the distance, you can see some of that haze. Now, looking at Shasta Lake, this is the Jones Valley Resort. And this camera is sponsored by Elwood Ranch. Beautiful shot out there this morning. And we're looking this morning also at the Lake Shestina Golf Resort. Looks a little hazy, looks a little smoky, doesn't it? And that's because we do have smoke coming in from the East Evans Creek fire in southern Oregon, unfortunately. There may even be that faint smell of smoke in some areas of Siskiyou, Modoc County. Maybe not even faint, maybe just full-on smoke. And there you can see that. Look at that, how it's really settling in some of those mountain valleys here coming in from the Soda Ridge camera. So again, not just a faint smell of smoke, but definitely that smoke. And that's typical. As it cools off, any smoke that we do see, it settles down. As that cooler air sinks into the valleys, it also brings the smoke down with it. And that's why we're seeing some of the smoke up there. All right, let's take a look at some other cameras across the region. Lassen Park, no smoke there, just crystal clear blue skies this morning and a mild start. There's a look at Lake Oroville, and we're not looking at the lake. We're looking at Main Street Chico here, though, and you can see not much in the way of traffic this morning. And looking out at Highway 99 at Neal Road, your typical traffic this morning and clear skies. And looking at Crescent City Harbor District, we are starting to see some breaks in the clouds, so I do expect to see probably some sunshine later this morning for places like Crescent City and even areas along the coast. In fact, Jackie Dixon from Trinidad is saying, yes, it's the typical marine layer again this morning. We've also got Barry saying good morning. So good morning to you all. Taking a look at Bald Hill West, looks like a little bit of smoke, a little bit of haze hovering in the area there. Looking out at Fort Jones and in Scott Valley, you can see off in the distance there some of the smoke and haze that we do have from the East Evans Creek fire as well. Well, today is Friday and we've got our pet of the week, and this week we introduce you to, I believe it's Lena, something like that. Anyways, here's your Haven Humane Society Pet of the Week.
Hi, this is Maisie with Haven Humane Society in Anderson, and this is our Pet of the Week, Lil. She is about a year-old mixed breed pup who weighs about 40 pounds. She is one of our beloved Camp Love-A-Pet dogs, so she is working with 2 young kids on her basic obedience, loose leash walking skills, and some fun tricks. She is incredibly sweet and affectionate and has already bonded really strongly with her campers. So if you want a dog that's really just going to be your best friend, she is a great choice. She is also incredibly smart and is picking up really quickly on all of the things her campers are teaching her. We have other camp dogs who are also looking for their forever homes that are working on the same stuff as Lil. So if maybe you're looking for somebody a little different, check out our camp dogs. Her adoption fee is $25, but starting on Saturday the 18th through Sunday the 26th. Thanks to the Bissell Pet Foundation, all of our adoption fees are completely sponsored, so please come check out Lil and all of our other adoptable animals. Thank you.
All right, yeah. one-man band here pushing buttons, got to make sure everything's fine. But yes, I was wrong. I think I said Lena and Leah. It's Lil. And of course, they got other great pets here. And thanks to the Bissell Pet Foundation, as they are starting tomorrow, going to have waived those fees. They're going to take care of those fees here. So be sure to head on out to the Haven Humane Society, get an appointment to meet some of these dogs, and make one of those dogs very happy by bringing them into your home and making it their forever home. Well, Coffee with Krueger would not be possible without our sponsor, Wind River Resort and Casino.
It's time to kick back, forget about your trouble, and have a good time. Wind River Resort and Casino is proud to welcome Uncle Cracker back to the Event Center stage Friday, August 14th. Drift away with his signature laid-back blend of country, pop, and rock, spiked with a splash of hip-hop. Tickets for this feel-good summertime show start at just $25 plus fees. Smile as you enjoy over 2 decades of multi-platinum top charters. Reserve tickets today at windriver.com. Your adventure begins here. Wind River Resort and Casino.
Well, we get into that deeper dive forecast. This is really when we start getting into what's happening. You know, during Krueger's Quick Cast, it's just a quick look at what you could expect for the day. But in the deeper dive, we take a look at the long range. And there's a lot to talk about, folks. And there certainly is some uncertainty, unfortunately, in the forecast as well. We'll get into that here. So let's take a look at some of the things that we're tracking. Number one, temperatures. Temperatures, for the most part, are going to be near normal. The normal high in the valley is about 99, 100, somewhere in that range, right? Upper 90s, give or take, depending on where you are. Not quite as hot down to the south near Chico. Hotter. In fact, the normal high for Redding is 101 degrees, believe it or not. Drier air, elevated fire weather risk for the next few days, but I am watching, that is, a tropical storm, Elida, in the Pacific. This could potentially bring us more moisture, on top of the fact that we're also tracking that monsoonal moisture that could be working its way in. The combination of the two could help bring maybe a chance for some thunderstorms, mainly in the mountains. Now, temperature-wise, we're in the low to mid-60s in the valley, so it's cooling off a little bit. You can see 40s and 50s for the higher elevations, mid-50s for you along the coast. So we have the monsoonal moisture here. We've got an area of low pressure kind of moving to the north. What you don't see is farther down to the south is Tropical Storm Elida. Now, this is kind of the beginning phases. We can clearly see that rotation. We can see that tropical disturbance. This is expected to work its way northward here through the weekend and going into next week. It will eventually possibly reach those 80-mile-an-hour winds, possibly making it a Category 1 hurricane, possibly at this point. But then as it hits the colder waters closer to us, we start to see it really begin to break apart. So I'm not expecting this to have a huge impact on us. But what I am expecting is, number one, maybe we'll start seeing along the coast, especially central and southern California, maybe some higher surf, right? Also, potential for some of that moisture to work its way into Northern California, but that's not a guarantee, and we'll take a look at that here in a second. But we also have all this monsoonal moisture that we've got to keep our eyes on. So it's the combination of this moisture and this moisture that could be moving in that's really going to help to elevate the potential for those mountain thunderstorms. So let's start with just looking at any chances for rain. And honestly, it's not looking very promising, folks. Let's take a look at that. So there you can see right here, there is Tropical Storm Elida. Of course, by this point, it's just going to be a tropical depression and a disturbance, but there's just a little batch of rain that's associated with it by Tuesday of next week. In the meantime, I'm also watching this area of high pressure flow around it. Yes, it is going to possibly bring some of that monsoonal moisture into parts of the Sierra, but you can see it's not really reaching that far north into California. Still the potential, though. Now let's take you through the rest of the week. That just fizzles out, doesn't it? It doesn't really do it. So yes, I'm talking about this tropical storm, right? But overall, the main impact, I think, is going to be just some added cloud cover and a little bit of moisture coming out of it. And not a ton at this point, based on the European forecast model, not a ton of that monsoonal moisture. However, I'm going to show you two different forecast models when we take a look at this, what we call the moisture content, or the available moisture that's coming in. So this is very moist air, right? There's a lot of high humidity levels. There you can see this right here, very moist. This is dry. That's where we are right now. So we're going to watch two areas, the desert Southwest and the tropics of the Pacific. Watch what happens. All right, we're going to take you through the weekend. And what's happening is this, and going into Monday. So you start to see some of this working its way up. We also, as this works its way, you see how we're getting some of this moisture. Now, it's not a ton. We're kind of in the blues, greens, and yellows. So we're barely just beginning to see some of that moisture work in. So I think what's going to start to happen is we'll see more clouds begin to kind of increase on Sunday. And then going into Monday, we may start to see the potential for some showers and thunderstorms developing, especially in the mountains. Now, as we go into Wednesday, right, there's that area of low pressure at this point. This is the remnants of what is now Tropical Storm Elida over the Pacific. But you see, we're not really seeing a strong push of that monsoonal moisture working its way in. But there certainly is a little bit of moisture that we're seeing here, but not a ton. Then we go into your Thursday, Friday, that just kind of fizzles out, and now we're back to drier air moving in by the end of next week. So based off the European alone, I would project that we'll just see added cloud cover, maybe a chance for some thunderstorms developing in the mountains as early as Monday, but I'd say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are the 3 days that we'll have to watch. Now, let's take a look at the GFS forecast model. It's a bit more aggressive, especially with Elida. All right, so let's take you into this weekend. There's Saturday, Sunday, so there's Elida right here. Now, look what happens. As we go into Monday, Tuesday, number one, the area of low pressure seems to be a bit stronger. And number two, there seems to be a lot more moisture that's available really pushing in. So it's putting us in even some of the oranges and reds, especially out along the coast. So this one, the GFS forecast model, the American forecast model, is much more aggressive with bringing in that moisture, okay? So that would really help to support showers and thunderstorms, especially in all of the higher elevations. This would be including possibly, especially this amount of moisture, even the potential for some of that working its way into parts of the valley. That is Tuesday. But again, notice we're just not seeing a very strong push of that monsoonal moisture. This all is mainly coming in from the tropical storm. And then it dries out after that. Then we go into Thursday, Friday again. You see the drier air beginning to move on in. So they both agree, the European and the GFS, that by the end of next week, no matter how much moisture moves in, it will still completely be looking at much drier conditions by the end of next week. So again, just kind of in summary, after looking at both of these forecast models, I would project that the most amount of moisture that will be in place will be around early next week, Monday, Tuesday, maybe into Wednesday, and then that begins to push out. So for now, I'm kind of broad brushing the forecast. I'm not really putting in a lot of rain in the forecast for now because there's not a lot of confidence in that just yet. So we can't really pinpoint exactly what's going to happen with that. So let's take a look at futurecast. There's some of the clearing along the coast, by the way. So I do expect you'll see some sunshine later on today. But the low clouds fog returns later this evening and tonight. This afternoon and evening, you're not really seeing much in the way of cloud cover or even those afternoon cumulus clouds. None of that developing in the mountains for the most part. Saturday, there you can see a little bit of that marine layer along the coast. We may see some monsoonal moisture try to skirt eastern California, but notice on Sunday, we do see a few more clouds moving in, especially off to the east. It's also projecting a few showers, which most likely will be virga. That's rain that evaporates before it reaches the ground. Then taking you into Monday, you see that gets a little aggressive with some of the showers. I would anticipate that what we'll see on Monday is mostly cloudy skies. There may be some light sprinkles, light showers developing, but since it's been so dry, Monday is the day that we're going to start to maybe saturate that atmosphere as some of that monsoonal and subtropical moisture begins to move in. And as a result, we may see some of those streaks coming from the clouds, but overall, not a lot of energy coming in on Monday. Now let's switch gears, talk about the temperatures. The normal high in Redding, 100 degrees. Where are we going to be for the next 10 days? Most days will actually be below that. So we'll keep it right around or just below normal for the next 10 days. Nothing unusual, nothing extreme, nothing uncommon. By the way, Chico probably closer to the mid-90s for your daytime highs. All right, your lake levels, still watching this. We're keeping it right around 100% of the historical average and above that for Trinity and Lake Oroville. Let's take a look at the wave heights. They are starting to show signs of increasing. We may have to watch for the potential for some small correct advisories as we do go into the weekend, but not today. In fact, the winds are dying down later on this afternoon with your waves from the northwest at 5 feet at 7 seconds and from the southwest at 1 foot feet at about 15 seconds. Here's your neighborhood forecast, sponsored by Dignity Health and Grange Co-op. We've got those temperatures in the 90s for the most part in Trinity County. Now, again, what I'm showing you, and I want to just kind of explain to you, this is why it's important. You know, you can look at your app all day long without the explanation and you still won't get a full picture. That's what we do here at Weather NorCal. We really help to give you an idea of what's happening. So you're going to start to see more clouds. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, maybe even into Wednesday. That's, I think, the window of when we start to see some of that tropical moisture from what is now Elida moving into our region. And especially as we go into early next week. So by Monday, we'll call it cloudy skies, overcast skies. For now, I've got you dry on the coast. For now, I've got you dry even for the inland areas. That may change as we go through the weekend, as we go into next week, and we start getting a better picture as far as what the forecast models are projecting. We take you into Siskiyou County. Temperature is 80s and 90s. There's the added cloud cover, but once again, I'm keeping Siskiyou County dry. Now again, what I'm going to do here is include a chance for thunderstorms here for your Tuesday. This is kind of that central window, right? Because Monday, a slight chance. We saw it on Futurecast, not much. Tuesday may see a better chance and maybe some lingering activity on Wednesday. That is the exact same story for the eastern mountains. But today, right, mainly sunny skies, 80s and 90s for your daytime highs. For the valley, I've got you dry. But, you know, you did see on Monday a few showers trying to develop in the valley, most likely evaporating before reaching the ground. But could you see a stray sprinkle or light shower? Not out of the question, but it is cooling off a bit on Monday, a little bit. Low 90s for Chico by Monday, back in the mid 90s by Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. For Redding, I've got you right around the upper 90s for today. 100 though for Palo Cedro, and there's your 7-day forecast for Redding. There's the added cloud cover Monday. Temperatures drop slightly on Monday as a result of the added cloud cover, and then we're back up to around 100 degrees here for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. It looks like Kim this morning is saying good morning as well. Good morning to you, Kim. Looks like, that looks like a little doggy there that you got there. So thank you for checking in this morning and saying hello. Good morning to you all. Today is Friday, so we're getting ready for the weekend. Let's take a look at the calendar. Let's see what kind of fun days. I saw this earlier, National Yellow Pig Day. I'm not exactly sure what that's all about. What does that mean? Education and history. National Tattoo Day. So if you've been thinking about getting a tattoo, maybe it's a day to get a tattoo. Yeah, I don't know. By the way, I got my friends over at Tattoos Inc. If you're interested, they'll be glad to get you one a tattoo. A National Lottery Day. Well, there you go. Let's spend our money on the lottery. National Wrong Way Corrigan Day. Okay. National Peach Ice Cream Day. Love me some peach ice cream. So there you go. An excuse to eat some peach ice cream. There you go. I wonder if Cookies and Yogurt will have peach yogurt, because I know that they like to kind of celebrate some of those days. All right, there you go. All right. Jackie already telling me to have a great time in Mexico. So yes, I've been talking about that. I'm going to Mexico. Aiden and I will be leaving today, sometime today, and hopefully crossing the border by tomorrow. We're going to try to break up the trip. Usually, many times I just drive straight there, but I think I'm going to break it up. I'm going to try it out. And so we'll kind of spend the night somewhere. I'm not exactly sure where. As we get closer to the potential of spending the night, I'll probably have to get online and see if I can find a place to stay. But it also has to be dog friendly because we're bringing Nessie. Nessie's going to have a good old time in Mexico as well. And then, of course, my wife is going to be flying down in a couple of weeks, and then she'll be joining me along with one of her friends. So she just had a few things she had to take care of here, and we'll be reconnecting back in Mexico and then driving back up. So I'm going to be there for about 3 weeks. Yeah. So it's a bit of a vacation, but I'm still working. You're still going to get me. I'm still going to be giving you the forecast Monday through Friday. So I'm still going to do it. I'm going to have it, in fact, I was just kind of working on it the last month or so. I'm going to have it set up much like what I have here. The only thing I won't have is the green screen. So I won't be able to walk up to the green screen. You'll have this. You'll have the split boxes, just like this the entire time. But outside of that, you won't have the full screen. So that is what's going on here. So just note that I will not leave you behind. You will have your forecast as usual for the next 3 weeks. I will just be giving you that forecast from somewhere else. That's the beauty of what I'm doing now. I can work remotely. Can't do that in TV. You can, you really can, but they don't encourage it and they don't want you to do it. So I'm my own boss. I do what I want. I do what I please. Good stuff. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us this morning. It's Friday. Next time I see you, at least here live, it will be from my studio in Mexico. How fun is that? Hopefully things go smoothly. I've been kind of testing the remote live aspect of it, and it's been working beautifully, so let's hope for the best. So thank you all so much for watching. Have yourselves a great Friday. Stay safe out there. We've got elevated fire weather risk, so use extreme caution no matter where you are today to prevent any of those new fire starts. In the meantime, we're going to leave you with a couple of cameras from the region, and I hope you all have a great Friday, great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.